What is up, guys? It is Joe. We're back. We're talking all about the Cats, specifically K-State basketball, as the team survives a close one in Tempe, 71-70 over the Arizona State Sun Devils. A massive win with a ton of stuff to talk about in today's video. Before I do, quick caveat, I apologize this video isn't out at 8:30. The game finished up at like 11:30. I needed some time to rest, so we're coming at you a little bit later today, so that's kind of the explanation there. Also, a reminder to subscribe. It helps out immensely, and it's the best way to support this channel. Also, help by adding some likes, comments, anything you can do to help the algorithm and boost this video's reach. We appreciate that every day. I always say we, don't really know why. It's just me over here. But I appreciate you, and I appreciate the effort you put in every day. Now, jumping into Kansas State athletics, folks, this was a massive win. Every game from now on is basically a must-win. And I know that some people will sit there and say, well, we could make the tournament with, if we go 7-2 down the stretch. We can make the tournament if we go 8-1 down the stretch, or we can go 9-0 the rest of the way. Obviously, I want to go 9-0. I think that's the optimum idea. If you go perfect down the stretch, you get into the March Madness tournament. You just do. But it's going to be a tough task here the next couple weeks. You got top 25 teams in Kansas and Arizona heading to Manhattan here back-to-back, so those are going to be big topics to discuss. But with that, you also understand this team has some life. They have some confidence, and I cannot wait to talk about what we saw last night and how that moves forward for Kansas State. But let me start off with a couple overarching storylines. First of all, what a wild game from start to finish. I say that to say this. The Amarillo assassin became the Armadillo assassin. Doug McDaniel gets spit on or slapped. No one really knows what happened. The guy for, Jaden Quinton's for Arizona State gets fouled for the free throw line after an awesome defensive play from Kansas State, jars the ball loose, should have jumped on the basketball, should have won the game there. It magically pops into JQ's hands, goes up for the mega dunk, and David Gasson makes the play of the year to foul him. He misses both free throws and Kansas State wins. What a ridiculous game with wild storylines. I also forgot to mention another one. A robotic bumblebee attacks the studio. All of a sudden, both mics cut out for ESPN's crew. They don't talk the entire game. If you missed that, go check it out on my Twitter. I posted it over there. A lot of people said it sounded like a robot. Some people sounded like, Karen from SpongeBob. It sounded like a bunch of different things like that. To me, it sounded like a bumblebee attacked the studio. So every time you heard someone talk, you'd hear a little buzzing in the background every single time. It was not fun, but it was funny. So I say that. It's ridiculous. It was a ridiculous game, but I'm so thankful you survived that. So many things that didn't quite go your way. You started off down, 18 points on a 20-2 run for Arizona State at the gates. Then you flip a 16-3 run of your own. You get back into the conversation. K-State even punches their way till up 13. They didn't necessarily let off the gas. They didn't necessarily choke. They didn't do anything wrong, but Arizona State climbs back in. They're a good team. They're on, they're at home. That stuff happens in the Big 12. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there down a point. With Arizona State reclaiming their first lead since 151 in the first half. K-State doesn't quit. They draw three straight beautiful plays up for Coleman Hawkins. The first two coming on Arizona State trying to double-team Coleman. Kick over to David Gasson, back-to-back layups. David Gasson with two big free throws down the stretch. We'll talk about Dave here in a second. And the dagger three from Coleman Hawkins to put Kansas State up. An awesome thing to see. But let me run some stats here for everybody, the starting five on the court, because everybody did have an impact in this game. David Gasson, like I said, leading scorer with 22 and 8. That's a big day for David Gasson. He is truly blossoming into a star in Big 12 basketball. And truly one of college basketball's elite bigs right now. Max Jones, another perfect add, a gem you found in the transfer portal, 15, 5, and 3. Looks more and more like a bucket. That dude is there. Brennan Hawson, 12, 4, and 1. Also turned into the Armadillo assassin, which is hilarious. Coleman Hawkins with a near triple-double. Same thing with Doug McDaniel, actually. Coleman finishes with 11, 6, and 7. And Doug McDaniel finishes with 7, 8, and 9. That's awesome. That is awesome to see. The dudes are competing their tails off, boys. They're doing everything they can to win this basketball game, and they did that. So I want to start off here. How many times have you seen a game-winning foul? That's a question for everybody, for the back of the class or the front of the class. Who's answering that one? No hands go up, because I have literally never seen a game-winning foul. I've seen teams foul by 2, up 3 late. That stuff happens. You send in the free throw line, force them to make their free throws or miss one intentionally. David Gasson with the play of the game. And I know that his intention wasn't to foul the worst shooting, free throw shooting guy on the court. Whoever's going up for that situation is going to be the guy you have to foul, and you have to hope they miss their free throws. There is nothing that you could have done better in that situation than what David Gasson did, but his effort to still get up off the floor and go foul JQ, go make him shoot those shots rather than just conceding and saying, big dunk, that's a tough break, the ball didn't bounce our way, literally this time. David Gasson goes out there and competes his tail off. Talk about the definition of a program guy, man. That's a dude that truly, competes his tail off day in and day out. And I know Coach Ten caught some flack for it after the Houston game because, well, you lost by 30. That's going to happen. But when he said, hey, we're trying to have a basketball program here with multiple David Gassons in the program, guys that want to be here for multiple years and establish that foundation. Tank caught a lot of flack for that because you just lost in a bad way. You don't do those, you haven't been doing the things necessary to recruit those guys or to keep them here or vice versa. But I hope everybody sees now what he means by that. When you get guys that are bought into the culture, that work their tail off and develop, you get David Gassons. And even though thinking about it, like, some people sometimes just want to see the negative all the time. I think we're at a point now where in a 4-game winning streak, people are seeing the positives again, but some people see it and want to critique the staff for their development. Folks, these guys, when you give them an offseason and a season of work, they do great things. You think about the massive jump Cam Carter took in a year. You think about the massive jump that some of these guys take, like even guys like Dorian and Jarrell Colbert and guys that weren't necessarily ready for college basketball, they come out and they contribute. And you see guys develop throughout the season. You just do. You get the buy-in out of guys. You get the right things out of guys. Max and Brendan are hitting on all cylinders. They have truly developed and stepped into that next conversation. Moby's a dude that I love to talk about. Had a big day again, 4-4 on the day. That's big for a guy playing 8 minutes a game, 6 minutes a game. Like, Moby's getting up there and cleaning the glass at 6'6", mind you. Against 6'11", 6'10 defenders, Moby's up there skying for rebounds. You got to love to see the effort there. But you got to really just commend David Gasson for his effort. He is truly a star at Kansas State. And you got to tip your hat to the kid for being here for 4 years, or 3 years, I guess. But tip your cap to Dave Gasson. He's been a hell of a ball player and a program guy. I also should mention, if this is what turns the tides into Kansas State moving towards that dynamic of, 5 years from now, if we look at it, K-State has multiple 3rd and 4th year guys in the program. They're staying at Kansas State. We're recruiting elite. We're doing stuff. David Gasson deserves a ton of credit for being one of the guys that truly sparked that trend. Absolute class from David Gasson. Made the play of the game, won us the game yesterday. He absolutely did. Now, in case you missed it on the channel the other day, I made a video specifically highlighting Max Jones, Brendan Hausen, guys that I feel like Kansas State nailed in the transfer portal. You got the perfect gems. You develop them. Look at what they're doing at this level. Go back and watch that video if you haven't seen it. If you have, let me just hit a quick little bullet point on this for you. This is such a cool thing to see these dudes continue to succeed. Neither were giant over-the-top portal recruits for just about anybody in the country. Kansas State and a couple other big players were there, but like Nebraska was the biggest threat for Brendan Hausen. They're no good. I mean, they're fine, but they're no good. Then you get for Max Jones, there was reports of Texas Tech and a couple other teams poking around, but nobody really emerges as the clear front runner. K-State gets the job done with both. And I have to tell you, at the time when it came to Brendan, I wasn't like overwhelmed with the ad. I was like, yeah, he's a good shooter, but he's probably not gonna start. He'll come off the bench, have a similar role to what he did at Villanova. Forget what I said. Forget everything about that. These dudes are legitimate stars, and Brendan specifically, it's not just his shooting, because he is an elite shooter. He's one of college basketball's best. Anytime a shooter gets a nickname, you know the drill. But the point is, this dude is truly a good defender. Brendan Hausen's working his tail off, and you saw a couple of boards he cleaned in that game where he's flying above multiple different dudes, David Gasson included, Coleman, Hawkins included, Moby included. Like, these dudes care so much about defending and rebounding. They know the areas they struggle at. Go take it. Brendan Hausen's doing that. Moving to Max real quick. Super quick break. If you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, 63% of the people watching this video right now are currently not subscribed to the YouTube channel, and feel free absolutely to ignore this and skip this, whatever the case is. But those of you that are watching right now and are unsubscribed, be sure and consider hitting that subscribe button if you love Kansas State, if you appreciate the channel. It's a great way to support me as I continue to grow on this journey, and it's also incredible to bring more K-State fans in like yourself on a consistent basis to see more of my K-State content. Once again, if you're in that 63% or if you're in the alternative in the 37%, I love and appreciate you. Back to the Cats. Truly a bucket. The first dude to get a bucket to fall. I know that the meme that the admin posted on K-State Basketball's Twitter was kind of funny. When we were down 17-0 and Max broke the streak and got us on the board. But with Max Jones, he is truly a guy that cares about playing the right way. He scores, he defends, he rebounds, he's a bucket. He can shoot lights out from three. Anytime he is on the court, good things happen. Those are the dudes you need in your program. And when I say that, he feels like one, and you saw a bunch of tweets yesterday about it. If you're on social media, if you're not, I'll explain it to you. There was a lot of people saying, man, I am really bummed that we only get Max Jones for 1 year. I really want him back for another year. I don't know where the D2 eligibility stuff's going to go. I don't know how it's going to change. There has been conversations of, okay, if JUCO guys are getting another year of eligibility, then what's going to happen with D2 and D3 guys? How do we justify them not getting another one, but the JUCO guys getting it when it's kind of a JUCO alternative to go D2 instead of JUCO? When you look at that, it feels like that decision's going to come sooner rather than later. My hope, my prayer, my anything I can say is hoping for D2 dudes like Max Jones to get more years of eligibility, because if you get another year out of Max, one, that's a fan favorite thing. Like, that ties a little ribbon on the package that was Desi Sills, a guy that was here for 1 year. Everybody wanted to be here for multiple years looking back at it. with Max Jones, you may have the opportunity to get that same situation for more than 1 year. And getting Max back for a second year would be elite. You will not find a better shooter than him in the transfer portal. Same thing with Brendan. You will find guys that hit good threes, so have guys in good systems, but making the leap to Big 12 basketball, making the change, both those dudes knocked it out of the park. And you want both of them back next year incredibly bad. Brendan obviously will be back. I expect Brendan to be back fully. Unless something crazy hits the wall, I expect Brendan to be back. We'll see what else happens around it, but I wanted to highlight those two because they have truly worked their tail off. Jump into Coleman Hawkins. Now, it's not a hot take to say, Coleman caught the most of the flack because he was the highest paid dude on the team. I get that. There's dudes on our roster that are making a ton of money but have nearly zero impact relative to what Coleman Hawkins' output is. That's not to throw anybody under the bus, but the point is Coleman was the head of the snake, so he took the bites. With the situation with Coleman Hawkins, he has been worth every single penny. He is a leader and a competitor, a dude that wants to win on all cylinders. He spoke about how much, hey, we need to do this thing right. We have to turn the tides, and they've done the thing. Coleman Hawkins, the plays that stuck out, he impacts the game in so many different ways. He is truly LeBron-esque in the post. That sounds stupid. Hear me out. When you get a guy posting up and you have two dudes, no matter what, we have to bring the double. That's an easy bucket for Coleman Hawkins. When you bring the double at Coleman Hawkins, it's almost better to leave him in ISO. Just let him out there cook if you're a defensive guy. But bringing the double, you live by it, you die by it. You're not forcing any turnovers on that dude. He is too smart, too big, too physical in the post. He's going to kick it to the right guy, make the right read. K-State's going to hit a bucket because you surrounded the right pieces around him. With Coleman Hawkins, that step back three, that was an absolute killer three, made the play of the game. And then the exact next play, sprinting up the court, trailing the play, trying to get a steal with, a couple seconds left, and diving completely to poke the ball loose. That's the effort you want to see. 80 times out of 100, that play just bumbles around, doesn't get to anybody's hands. The shot clock runs out, the game's over. Conveniently, the ball bounced the wrong way, quite literally, goes to JQ, David Gasson fouls. You know the story, but when you see stuff like that, that's your heart, that's your leader, that's the guy that's going to go out there and compete every single night, and you have to respect the man for what he's done, the work he's put in, to be here, to take the criticism, to absorb the heat, and say, I'm still here, I'm still going to work. You love what you see there. The last two topics I want to talk about, Doug McDaniel, and I didn't hear it on the broadcast because I couldn't breathe the last 20 minutes after the game, to tell you the truth. I was freaking out. I just had to chill out. I was just so overwhelmed. I was like, dude, I don't know how we won that game. But in the postgame with Wyatt and Stan, it sounded like Doug McDaniel talked about how much care he has for Jerome Tang and how much faith he has in the man and how he appreciates the fact that he had faith in him to get him to the point where he needs to do the right things. That's huge for both dudes. That relationship continues to thrive. And this wasn't Doug's best game from a all-around perspective. He's lit up the scoreboard, he's lit up a couple different things, but the way he affected the game was awesome. Defensively looked great. Had a near triple-double at 5'11" with 8 boards. That's a big deal for Doug McDaniel. Shout out to Doug Buckets, man. Dougie Buckets. Big 12 standings, folks. Where do you think K-State stands? Let's look at this together. We are just a couple weeks removed from being at the bottom of the leaderboard, or near the bottom of the leaderboard, alongside Colorado and Cincinnati. After starting 1-6, K-State is now 5-6 and 11-11 overall. We're back to playing 500 ball, and if you win against Kansas, that is going to be a massive thing that genuinely puts you on the bubble if you win this basketball game. And I get that a lot of teams have better non-cons. I get that. There's a certain point where winning games gets rewarded. And I know that losing games also has its punishment. I'm not saying that. But down the stretch, if you continue to prove, hey, we're a different team, some of those early losses, some of those early stumbles get overlooked slightly by the committee. When I say that, I bring this up. Looking at the Big 12 standings for the men's teams, you got 8 teams in the tournament field. That's kind of a down year for the Big 12, but the point is K-State sits in 9th place. That doesn't sound great at face value. But when you look at it, the 8 teams above them and even the 10th team, UCF, every single one of them is either in the NCAA tournament projection or they're on the bubble. UCF's been on the bubble, and they are 4-6. K-State 5-6. They play tonight. We'll see what happens there. West Virginia 5-5. Baylor 6-5. BYU 6-5. KU and Iowa State 7-4. Texas Tech 9-2. And then Arizona and Houston at 10-1. K-State can make this tournament. Go make it happen. That's the overall thought I had on this video. And thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the support. We'll talk again here soon. I'm excited to bring you some cool content this week, so be on the lookout for that. But I'll talk to you all here in the next couple of days. Have a great day, and go Cats.